Hello, welcome back to the Wedding Capture Co podcast, a podcast for photographers and videographers with me, Chris, and my co-host, Tom.
Hello.
Today is a very special episode for us because it's our second guest on the podcast and our first videographer guest as well. And that is going to be Roo Films. Now, Roo has recently won Best Videographer in the universe in the UK, and is also hosting the Coda conference for videographers, which if you're a videographer then you probably would have heard of. So we're going to talk to him about all things awards and all things Coda, and trust me, it's a really exciting episode. There's a lot to go through. It's probably one of our longest yet, and it's a really good chat. So yeah, let's jump in.
Now, do you use an ND? Because I don't do that either.
No.
Chris
I was going to bring this up in the pod as well because I know I get a lot of stick from like Josh and a few of our friends for not using an ND. But it was good to see when I watched your BTS and you were like, yeah, I just cranked the shutter. I was like, yes, you literally won videographer of the year, and you crank your shutter like that. That's all the affirmation that I need, I reckon.
Oh, mate, don't go what I do.
Yeah, no.
It works.
If I switch to 1080 and normal profile, am I going to win TWIA?
Literally. Yeah, that's it. That's what's holding you back, dude, all the time. Shoot at 6,200 Kelvin all day as well. Like that's the secret sauce.
Right, let's jump into the episode. So today is quite special for us because it is our first videographer guest on the pod, and only second guest to be fair.
Yeah.
And also the first time we're doing it over the over Zoom call or Google Meet. So that's new for us. We've been having a little TV
new territory here on the Wedding Capture Co. That's it. We're always looking at breaking new ground, and hopefully, we start off with a really good guest today, and then see where it goes from there.
Yeah, so let's introduce him and stay on the pod. We've got Roo Films. So say hello, Roo.
Say hello, Roo.
How you doing, guys? Thank you so much for having me on.
No, thank you.
I'm glad I'm your guinea pig for the virtual podcast.
I feel like, again, though, although we are in my dining room, it feels like you are the other side of the table where the setup that we have. So it's as homely as it is. You're here with us in spirit.
As homely as it can
nice.
be.
Yeah, I feel the same.
I just knew after seeing the Coda stuff, which we'll get into later on in the pod, that I had to message and be like, yeah, come on, because our message and was like, yeah, come in. And loads of people messaged me like, yeah, I'm also going to Coda, and it's like bringing everybody together. Yeah. And I thought that was really cool. So I was like, and I've seen your BTS stuff before, obviously seen you won the awards and things like that. So I was like, yeah, you had to be the first person to come on, I think, for videography for us.
Oh, thank you so much. What an honour. Massively appreciate it.
So if you could sort of introduce yourself in that really awkward, let's go around the circle and introduce ourselves kind of way. Who are you? What do you do? What's your style of work? What are you about?
Yeah, so I'm Roo Stain and I own Roo Films, and I'm also the co-founder of Coda, a videography conference. I've been a videographer now since 2018. I was a wedding photographer before that. I made the switch to the dark side. And and I'm all about creating films that tell the wonderful story of my couples. Tried to be as minimal as possible on the day, absorb myself into that day, and then create a film that takes my couples back to that day so they can relive it all over and over again.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's a really good way of saying it. Yeah, having seen your films and your BTS, and I think you have very similar values to me. Obviously everyone does things in a little bit of a different way, but it's very much being in the background, capturing what's going on, not getting too involved in the day, I guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider myself the kind of guy hiding in the bushes shooting the wedding. I do I chat to people a lot and I'll speak to them, but quite often with the camera down, just so people get used to me being around. And that's how I sound myself to my couples. It's I won't be hidden away. You will see me and I will be there, but only in a way to get their guard down so I can get more natural footage of them. Yeah. And then but I do like to let the day flow as well. And I tell my couples the most important thing they can do for me on their wedding day is just to embrace the day and enjoy it, and don't worry about me. I'll get what I need with them. They don't need to do anything specific for me, just enjoy it. And that's what I want to be able to capture the best footage from.
Yeah, I feel like we have this conversation a lot actually about there's a difference between being the guy who stands at the back with a 7200 and just doesn't talk to anybody and capturing that in a documentary way, or being still involved and still helping people and chatting to people and integrating yourself within the day, but still capturing things naturally and making people feel natural around
you. And
you.
I get that from your films. I watched a couple, obviously, in kind of preparation for this, and I really feel that people are aware that you're there. There's no mistaking that it's not as if like you say, you're kind of doing that kind of from the bushes thing, and it's completely candid, but you can tell that they feel comfortable for you being where you are and doing that thing, so it doesn't feel like, or you can tell that you've not read them a script before you've gone, oh, in this moment can we do this, and you walk to her and then kind of, and so it doesn't feel forced, it feels very natural. And like the thing you said when you kind of introduce yourself is that for them to look back on it, you're making them a film, or I feel from someone that wasn't even at those weddings, that you can tell that they're going to look back on that and it feels very real as to what their day was, rather than you kind of feeding them a script or making something which kind of plays out like a Hollywood movie. It feels kind of a kind of real polished kind of natural thing.
Oh, thanks, but that's exactly what I want to hear from people. Good. That's brilliant. I must be doing it right, I guess. But yeah, and I think it's quite interesting looking at the different styles of videography, isn't there? Like, so the UK videography based on kind of American style, where with the American style of wedding videography, I feel like there's set plays throughout the day that they're going to go through and they're going to do, and their couples are expecting that as well. Like, mum, come and stand with daughter by the window and have a moment together. But I think our personalities in the UK, we're very much kind of, I think it's kind of changing a little bit now, but we're hide away from the camera to a certain degree, aren't we? So the method I've found to be able to get what I need and I want natural footage, is to embed myself in that day, communicate with people and just have a good time with them. Yeah. And I honestly absolutely adore weddings. And I think that kind of feeling back, that vibe comes off you, doesn't it, to the people around you, and and you settle into the day quite well. At least I hope so anyway, but that's what I'm aiming for.
I think it does though, and your clients obviously have nice things to say about you, and you can't inject that warmth back if you're the guy which is silent at the back of the room. Like, there needs to be an exchange going on, doesn't there, between you making them feel comfortable, but also giving a little bit of yourself, that you can kind of get a sense of that in your films. Otherwise, that if you are just kind of a fly on the wall, it plays out in front of you, and you kind of feel that you have no kind of, not say over it because you're not directing, but there's no exchange there, is there? And I find it personally, doing photo, really hard to get involved with my couples if I was that fly on the wall. Like, you can't just sit and listen to a conversation and go, oh, well, I really want to say something, or come back. And it's, in the end, it's kind of knowing, it's finding that balance, isn't it? If, like, it's not your day, it's their day, but what can you do to give them a better experience or make them feel that they've got an ally with you? And it's, I
feel like it's finding that mix of being able to, like, chat with people, get them comfortable, but then stop chatting so you can let the day on board. And that's a balance that I sometimes, like, I still battle with now. It's kind of like making sure I am capturing those moments and not spending too much time just making people feel comfortable, like get them comfortable, start capturing, and then
definitely. I feel like
I do like a chat.
Like you say, with like UK couples, I feel like it's very much an uphill battle in terms of like trying to get them comfortable, because we're all quite like, it's a bit of an awkward like thing that we have, isn't it? Of like, I'm not very good in front of camera or whatever, and you kind of have to like make them feel comfortable around you, so that when it comes to filming them, they're then comfortable with being filmed, and you can't just walk into a room, pull the camera out and just be in the corner, because it's going to make people, I've heard stories from guests who have been like, oh yeah, like a videographer just walked in and he just pulled his camera out and started filming, and like nobody knew who this guy was, but it was really sort of really awkward. And I feel like in America, if you went to a wedding, literally they'd just be like in front of you. Like, it's probably not the case, but they'd just be in front of you, like posing and doing stuff, and like, oh, should we get a shot over here? Should we get a shot over here? But it's just not the case in the UK, so you've got to be.
And even more so with film, I think. If like, I know, like if I was doing that, and then I'd feel even more exposed, if you like, if someone came in and started filming me, as opposed to go, you kind of make a silly face for the camera for a photo, and then go back to what you were doing. But when that camera continues to follow you with no conversation or kind of any interaction behind it, I think it'd feel quite violating.
How long have you done video for, Roo?
Sorry, what was that? Sorry.
How long have you done video for?
Since 2018 is when I started dabbling. From originally being a wedding photographer, and then 2018 was when I shot my first one.
I just thought, because like I remember, like, coming off the back of what you said, I remember back in the day, like sort of early days of me doing filming, so like 2016, 2017, I remember turning up to a wedding with like just a A7S II or something, and and a bride being like to me, "You do realise I want you to do video, right? Not photo." I was like, "Oh no, this camera does video. We're fine. Like it's all good." Like,
expecting you to have like a shoulder mounted like camcorder thing.
But now, a couple of years ago, I turned up to a wedding with a camera and a gimbal, and they were like, "Oh, that's a big setup, isn't it?" And I was kind of like, "What's
the
like
balance?"
Now people are expecting like a tiny phone or something really small sort of thing. So like even like the level of what's intrusive now has changed quite a lot as well.
I came in at the perfect, like, I don't think I could have done videography any earlier than when I did, because everything had to fall in line with what I wanted, because I wanted to, when I made that transition from photo, I wanted it to be almost as minimal. And I was so worried about audio, but it was when Phil White showed me like the TX650s, it was because of that. I was like, right, now I can do video because the audio is easy to implement. So there's no way I could have been doing the old school camcorder on a shoulder and laving everybody up for every single wedding. Like, although I sometimes do that now, that initial step into videography, I needed simplicity.
Yeah. So you sometimes lav people, do you say? Or was that?
Occasionally, yeah. And it'll only really if the groom's suit looks terrible with the TX650 attached. Because if they've got like a light coloured suit and then the TX650's in their pocket, it looks like a vape, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and the amount of times I'd had like brides when they come up the aisle and they're standing there seeing their husband and they're instantly distracted by this thing in his pocket, like, what's that? What have you got?
When did you get nervous enough that you started smoking?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Just vaping as she's coming down the aisle. So, and sometimes if it's outdoors as well, I'll like hide a lav. I use the Ursa stickers.
Yeah.
To kind of like conceal them behind shirts and stuff.
Behind the shirt,
and I quite enjoy doing that. I like the whole process of it. I feel like like a really advanced videographer doing that.
Like you're wiring them up for some sort of secret mission.
Yeah. But I've spent a whole year, 2 years ago, like really delving into audio. I was like, I'm going to spend this entire year focusing on my audio and getting it the best I possibly can. And so at every wedding I was like laving people and TX650s and going into the desk as often as I could, like taking a feed from the desk. All those things to try and find like the best audio solution. And then they're going to Final Cut release that voice isolation, and then Adobe Podcast came out. I was like, I do not need any of that anymore. I'm just going to use the TX650s now and have keep a lav in my pocket for if something crops up like a suit, it doesn't look good on a groom's suit or something like that.
I don't know if we've spoken about Adobe Podcast on this yet, but that is quite a good
Do we use it?
So I've used it a few times.
I have to ask. I don't know anything about this. I turn up and talk, and that's about it. So.
It's insane.
It's
not really to do with, well, it can be used for podcasts, but it's like a really enhanced voice isolation. So it will take any audio and make it sound like it's been recorded for a professional podcast.
One of these microphones, essentially.
That's mad.
So literally any audio you could record on your phone, put it through it, and it'd sound like it come out of a podcast. Get rid of all of the echo, clean up your voice.
That's amazing.
And it's not. So the good thing is it cleans up a lot. Like if you've got baby screaming in the background, I've used it for a whole outdoor ceremony where I literally just before I mic'd the groom up, I lost the little fluffy bit that goes on the end of the microphone, and it's really windy. And I literally couldn't do anything. So I was like, ceremony's starting now, can't do anything. It's really windy. It sounded horrific. Put it all through Adobe Podcast, and it got rid of all the wind noise and just kept his voice.
That's mad, isn't it?
And it was insane. And the positive is it cleans it up really well. I would say it almost sounds a bit too unnatural, clinical, yeah. But now you can dial it in, can't you?
Yeah, you can dial it. Do you use Premiere or?
I use Resolve, but it does have a voice isolation on the Resolve Studio as well.
Yeah, so that's similar to the one in Final Cut that I use as well. But yeah, but my workflow for Adobe Podcast when using it, I have to like select the. I'll edit the film, then I'll just select the audio bits that I want because I'll never do like my whole entire speeches through it, but like my extended film and my shorter film, I then have to select those audio bits, extract just the audio, put them through podcast, and then put them back in again. So it's quite convoluted, but it's worth it, isn't it? But sometimes it makes me think of those, like the films from like the 70s where they've clearly overdubbed all the audio in the studio. It seems way too clean compared to the environment they're stood in, kind of thing. But
do you use it on all of your TX650 footage then?
No, well, I did I was for a bit last year, yes, but now I listen to some of those things back and I think it feels a bit too clinical. But what often I find it's amazing at, do you know when you kind of Because quite often when people are giving speeches, they stumble over their words, don't they? And they don't say, you know the sentence they're trying to say, but they mix it all up. So quite often I'm editing it, cutting it out and rebuilding the sentence for them so they say it in a cohesive way.
So you want to eat that for me? I'm terrible. I fall over my words all the time on this.
I'm not spending that much time editing this podcast.
That's it. I want to sound like I'm reading the King's Speech every time. That's it.
Yeah.
But when you rebuild the speech together like that, sometimes the audio goes, it makes funny noises, doesn't it? Yeah. But I've noticed if I then put that through Adobe Podcast, it really smooths it out, so you don't get those jarring kind of transitions between the cuts. So I do that. I do that quite a bit, and so often now, like I'm during a ceremony, a baby's screaming, and before I'd be like panicking. Now I'm like, whatever, scream as loud as you want. I'm just gonna vaporize that noise.
Yeah, well, it's been a lifesaver. I'm one of those people that like. I'm not convinced on the TX650s. I used to have a couple of them and I could just never get the audio right. And there's a couple of times where I've connected up to a PA system and the echoes, just like the microphone, like wrapped it around the microphone and the audio was just so like echoey, I just couldn't. But I mean, this was before all of like the like easy sort of voice isolation software and obviously I don't know how to edit audio as well. Like literally I use the Tascam DR10Ls and it generally comes out straight out of the box just decent anyway. Like I don't really need to do anything to it. Do you do anything to your TX? Do you have like a preset that you just drag onto it? Like?
So no, I don't actually. All I do is basically click the loudness selection in Final Cut, which kind of, I guess it equalizes a little bit, brings it all up to a similar level, and then put the voice isolation on everything, so it's knocking away everything else. So, like you'll probably find if you see my YouTube videos, I'm very simple with how I do everything. It's very straightforward.
No, I think that's good. I think like minimal is the way forward. Like there was a time where like you had to have a gimbal in order to be doing this. Like you've got like the first thing you should get is a gimbal, and that the problem is like if you're a lot of people that start videography with a gimbal are then like just literally running around with one and they're
too
not
attached
really
to it,
focusing.
and then
including myself, like I literally got a gimbal and I was just running around with one and like every shot was like moving in a certain way, and like to an extent I still like could fall back on it for certain things, but I find that like the way that you film, and I've watched a few of like Adam Wing's BTS and stuff like that, is like they're very similar, just keeping it minimal, one camera, like you can really focus on the kind of shots that you're getting, I guess, with that. So it's not necessarily like, you're just doing everything really basic. It's like minimal is good because it gives you the brain space to do other things and be creative with it.
That's exactly what it was, yeah. And it was from being a photographer first. So it was like, I knew how I like to capture weddings, and I wanted to be able to just translate that style from a photographer right into video. So it meant I needed to be handheld for a start. I tried it with a monopod. I could not. The angles I'm used to capturing, I just couldn't do with a monopod.
Yeah.
Even though now the monopod I got now is amazing to adjust up and down the iFootage Cobra Strike.
Oh, that's the one Josh got, I think.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I think you twist it and it goes up and down.
Oh man, yeah, I love that thing. But I've soon realised like I just needed to start stripping away at things that people were telling me, if you're filming a wedding, you need to do this, you need to have this gear. And all of it was like just so restrictive. So I stripped everything away till I'll get down to my basics, and I landed on like a 55mm lens is what I need. I want to be tighter. I used to shoot photo in 35, but I needed to be tighter. I couldn't shoot 35 for good video. You can't get in close enough and stay there long enough, can you? Because it would just be awkward as hell. How close you have to be to get a nice shot with 35mm. So I wanted to be as a tight shot as I possibly can, but also be able to keep it stable. And 85 was too much for me. Like, I'm a bit too shaky for an 85, so I landed on 55, and it was just literally just trial and error to find out what works.
That's nice 55 though. It's the lens
I
I think you are, the Sony one. That's an absolutely gorgeous lens. It's the first thing that I bought.
Beautiful.
And it's lovely,
yeah.
really, really good. Yeah.
It's one of the first lenses I've got for Sony. I've still got it.
Yeah.
And isn't it like kind of every Amazon deal day, that always gets a massive discount, doesn't it? It always drops down to like 300 odd quid, and like that. If you're going to buy one lens for a videographer, I'd go with that. It's so versatile, right? That's probably the first lens I'd recommend anyone gets.
Definitely, especially like you say for video. I feel like 50 is a very good like sweet spot. I was literally chatting about this at a wedding yesterday, where 85 can sometimes be like, I'm literally just getting someone's head. There's not much context sort of thing sometimes, depending on the amount of space you've got. 55, you can sort of use your feet, walk in, walk out. Yeah. You can still get those close-ups of people. But particularly for times where you're sharing with the photographer, like 55, if you're shooting on a 35 and you're trying to share with a photographer who's on an 85 or something, you're really going to clash. I feel like 50, if you do a couple shoot on a 50, you can sort of get all the shots you need without clashing too much with photographers' focal lengths.
Yeah, definitely. I will tell you what I've missed now, like kind of one of the other reasons that I've always been shooting in 1080 is I like to be able to use the APS crop mode on my camera as well.
Yeah.
So like I whack a 35 in those circumstances, especially ceremony, we're like, I don't know what I'm going to need here. Yeah, I don't know if 50 is going to be too tight.
You can't get to your bag and change halfway through. So.
Exactly, yeah. So like put it like shoot on a 35 and then crop in if I need to. But now like when you're shooting 4K 50, you can't do that. You can do the clear image zoom.
Yeah.
But when you go in that clear image zoom, you haven't got any control over where the autofocus lands, right?
No.
Like it's just wherever, isn't it? So,
I miss that so much. So I used to have, my setup used to be 2 A7 IIIs, one on a 24 and one on a 50. So then, and they both have crop modes. So I basically have 24, 35 on one side and the 50 and 75 on the other side. And it was so good. And then when the A7Ss come out and they were like, oh, now you can film in 4K, but you can't use crop mode. I was just like, I was so sad that like I couldn't use it anymore. And there's still not really a camera that does, unless you go to like A1 or A9, that does it like really well, that crop mode. But so the A7C that I'm using now has the clear image zoom. You can still use the touch tracking and have like focus with it. So I reckon they're going to start putting that into their cameras now, which is positive.
I'd love that, yeah, because I have been giving a side-eyed glance to the A1. Because just the screen, I don't like the outward flipping screens either.
I had to buy a Mark IV for photo this year, and it's the number one thing that I hate about it. I love like, the extra pixels, the better focusing from this A7 III, but that screen for me is an absolute killer. It's
like I always, because I like to, when I'm handheld, I like to kind of hold it towards my stomach.
Yeah, and to have a screen tilted up behind your camera is so much more discreet, isn't it? Than you're looking next to your camera and don't know where to point it. I'm with you on that.
It's just so frustrating. I always think I'm gonna knock it off, but the new lot of batch of cameras do both, right? Don't they?
Yeah.
Like
so if you get like the R5, that does a tilt and then a fold. Yeah,
and the A9 III as well. Like yeah. Chris, do you use active stabilization on your Sony?
I do. Yeah.
It's phenomenal, isn't it? Like, how good is that thing? Like, because I didn't realise how good it was until I accidentally turned it off once. And then, my word, did I notice the difference?
It is amazing, and I only noticed when. So switching from the A7 III, because I don't think the A7 III was that good of stabilization for video. You sort of had to deal with it. Switching to the A7S, I definitely use a gimbal a lot less now than I used to. But also the next step is the G Masters have an extra little bit of stabilization, which I don't think is ever specified anywhere. But if you compare like the 50 G Master to the 55 1.8 Zeiss, the stabilization on the 50 G Master is a lot better.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know. I've got like the G Master, the 24 to 70. Would that have?
So the zooms aren't quite as good at it. The primes are definitely better at it. But so on the 35 1.4, I can literally do a walking shot backwards handheld, and you wouldn't notice it was not with a gimbal.
Really?
Because it is that good on it. Like, and that's just it's not got the optical stabilization. But Sony must just have something that like dials in their best lenses.
It's almost like a little formula where if you use the G Masters with the camera, it kind of gives you that extra bit of
I didn't notice this until a friend of ours, Josh, said about it, and like he was like, try this, and he like gave me the 35 1.4 and then the 35 1.8, and I was doing all this with it just to like really test it through. And the 1.4 you couldn't see me doing this, whereas the 1.8 you could literally see it.
For people that are listening and not watching, Chris is shaking his hands like he's trying like doing a champagne spray. I kind of felt like I'm the audio prompt in this.
So there's been a couple of times where I've gone out of a couple shoot of the 51.4, and like whenever the photographer's gone, they're still walking shot now, I'm literally walking back, and it's been absolutely fine. And because I kind of rely on the gimbal a little bit more for couple stuff, but that's just something good to know. So.
Oh man, I didn't think you were going to be costing me money today, Chris. I'm going to be Googling
you learn very quickly from listening to this podcast that Chris is an absolute enabler for anybody else to buy any tech. I
fully recommend that. I went out and bought the GMs.
That's the kind of thing that I'd throw money at though, like that. Those slight incremental changes in terms of the quality of that you can get from the handheld stuff. there's a new stabilisation that on top of it, there's active. Now the A93's got dynamic, is it?
Dynamic, yeah.
And I think it crops in, I think it looks quite an extreme crop on it, but my word, that looks quite handy.
Yeah, that looks unreal. And I feel like that might just bring it up to Panasonic levels.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of jealous.
Did you ever shoot Panasonic?
No. Yes, I did actually. My first couple of weddings or few weddings with the GH5, which, like, bear in mind I knew nothing about like how to control cameras really at that point. I was just sort of winging it, or like millimeters of lenses and stuff. I was just sort of cracking on. I really didn't get on well with it, and I was like, because it's obviously micro four foot, the sensor's so small that it's really hard with the cheap lenses I was buying to get some good like blurry backgrounds. And at the point where you just start in, that's all you want, is to get like something that separates.
It's the mark of a true professional, isn't it? That's it. If it looks like 1.4, you're adding them zeros to the price.
Yeah.
You're putting people in terrible light, trying to get them blurry.
The stabilization was good on it, but I did hire out an S5 too though, and it is good. I think the stabilization isn't like for the sort of work that we do. I think the S5 II isn't leagues above the A7S. It's getting really techy now for some reason, but it is what it is.
But they're full frame there now, aren't they?
Yeah, so full frame unless you want to shoot in 50 frames, and then it's like, and then it crops in. But that's
the only downside, isn't it?
That's why.
But then you can overlay your LUT and everything, can't you, on them? Like they are made specifically for video, aren't they? Like just video in mind.
Yeah,
I guess.
pretty much. They've now got autofocus, which is really good. Like they're definitely catching up in a lot of ways. But the only downside is you have to crop if you want to go in 50 frames. But the stabilization wasn't leagues above. I found the colours much better and easier to deal with on the Panasonic than I did the Sony's.
Oh wow!
That might be just me, but I feel like it's so much easier to get a better result from it.
It's hard though, isn't it, when you're invested now and you've moved into a system? And were you Sony before you went to do Videographer as well?
Yes. No, actually, I think I was Canon initially. I think my first couple were on my 5D Mark IV.
But I think, when we spoke at length over times where I think now, obviously, I changed from Nikon to Sony in 2018, and I think now it would have to take a real sort of seismic shift or a camera to be a lot better for me to go through that transition again. And even for someone who uses fairly minimal kit like I do, to have to go and buy 2 or 3 new cameras, 2 new lenses, and kind of just get your head round moving to something new, there'd have to be a real big payoff, I think. And at the moment, I think all of the camera companies, there are some kind of pipping ahead in other ways, but nothing sort of night and day difference, is it?
No. I remember my first wedding when I did, because I got an A7 III initially, like everybody in the whole world did at that point.
Yeah.
And like my first wedding where I tried it was actually a photo wedding, and I nearly threw that camera away. I was like, this is horrendous. But I was trying to literally shoot in the exact same way on that camera. Whereas you have to get the most out of a mirrorless, you have to change everything, right? Like you want to go, you might as well go into aperture priority because you can see exposure. There's no benefit to you like shooting manually, and continuous focus the entire time, so it tracks and stuff for you. And once I got my head around that, it just changed the game for me. But I got the biggest love in the world for that A7 III camera. What an incredible camera that was in terms of features and price. Because I think it was like 1,800 when it came. Well, it was $2,000 max,
you can pick them up. You can pick decent ones up now for about 1,000 or 1,200. Like I'm still using one as my second camera, and I broke 2 of them last year, and so need a spare. And I think I'm just going to buy another one. I've been toying for ages. I think for the price that you spend on it for the output, I think for photo, for me it's still an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah, it's one of those cameras that when it came out, it definitely like shook the industry a bit. I think
that's quite fair to say. A year and still be okay.
I think Sony probably did themselves dirty by releasing that, because after that they then struggled to get one to go to the next thing. Like you're still knocking about with one A7 III. I feel like a lot of photographers have still got A7 IIIs.
But I think it was the gateway drug for everyone, though. So at least that they must have spent. If they weren't getting much money spent on camera bodies, the lenses were getting bought, weren't they?
It was that real big shiny carrot, wasn't it, that pulled everybody away from what they were doing.
It was,
and got them onto the Sony stuff, and then from there, I think I don't know many people that have switched back again.
No, and if it wasn't, to be honest, like the way I shoot as well, like. If it wasn't for the record limit time on them, like the 29 minutes, I probably never would have switched. And in fact, the only reason I switched to an A7S III was during COVID, the council near me had like a scheme, like a grant scheme. And if your business was affected by COVID and you couldn't work, you could apply to get equipment to help you diversify. So I put an application and I moved into doing live streaming funerals, and as part of the application I put I needed a new camera. I had the A7 III. So A7S3, and so Boris bought me mine. Otherwise, I'd probably still be on the A7 III now.
I love that. I need a new camera. That. There are too many people dying, and I want to live stream their funerals. So.
Roo Films, sponsored by Bojo.
yeah. Oh man, I don't necessarily want to be associated with the Tories, to be honest.
Not
that I want to get political or anything, but
Can we just say that point? Wedding Catcher Co has no political allegiances. We're all friends here.
Rishi
Other parties are available.
So again, I think we're going to let this conversation wander for a while. So I think we should move into the fact that kind of we're skirting around that you are UK wedding videographer of the year this year, right?
Yeah, apparently so, man. Yeah. I mean, I get a lot of sticks.
I love how you laugh it off. It's a huge achievement. Is it? Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. I'm just being very British, I guess. I think it's quite embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that was. Like TWIA, they call it TWIA officially. I always call it TWIA, right? But that's for me. It was always it was one of my goals was to win that. I thought the national. I thought I don't know if I'll ever win the national. I always thought that'd probably be out of my reach a little bit. But this year, the year that I won was the year that I nearly didn't enter as well. I was so close to not entering, and I think I did it in the last week. But my region, like West Midlands, is insane, and I'm quite lucky that they're all my going up against Christopher James, Ryan Mobley, and Zaid Cross, and people like that. It's a hotbed of talent. So just to win that regional, I'd have been lucky enough to win it once before as well. Winning that regional, I felt was a massive achievement, and then to go into the national was just a fun day out. But, when I did win it, oh man, it absolutely blew my mind. But the best bit, and I always banging on about this, is not necessarily, it was we all arranged, all the videographers that were finalists, to meet up together beforehand.
Nice.
So we all got together, we all had some drinks, had a good old chat, and when it came to the awards itself, and when I'd won, they were all just so nice to me, basically. They seemed so happy for me, and as I would have been for any of them winning as well. But it was nice to see that community is there, and it's not all competition. It's about we're all there celebrating each other, because we all felt like winners anyway, because we'd all won our regions, right? And it was just like a Brucey bonus, and we all partied the night away together, and it felt brilliant, to have that support from your peers, basically. But yeah,
definitely. I mean, we're all cheering each other on at this point, aren't we?
Exactly.
With what we do.
Yeah.
I know that I've entered TWIA for a couple of years, and I wasn't going to enter it last year, but a friend of mine who's also a videographer, Sean, was like, "You've got to enter it. You've got to enter it. Just be a good night out." And that's the sort of thing that. And now I'm encouraging other videographers to try and enter it as well. Even we're all in the same region, we're all competing for the same thing, but it's just it's a good night anyway. Just being able to just catch up with people in the industry, but also we're all encouraging each other, and I think. That's the industry has definitely opened up in that way as well, with things with all the education stuff that loads of people are doing at the moment. The UK videographers group, your YouTube channel, we're all giving each other the boost sort of thing.
Yeah. I think that's important as well. My father-in-law don't get it. He's there when all the things that I do, and he goes, "Why are you giving away all your secrets? You can sell that." But it's not about that, isn't it? It's about there's only so many weddings. I just need 30 couples a year to like my stuff and book me, and then I can't in terms of my editing queue, I can't really take on much more than that. So then any work that I can't take, I want to be able to give those couples great people to send to. So having those community of people around you, and you share work amongst each other, help each other out, and this would be a massively lonely job otherwise.
Yeah,
and
I
really
touched
missed
on it, briefly with the camera as well. Is I feel that I've never entered TWIA. I'm going to enter this year, but I've never entered it before, and I've always felt had this probably again stiff upper lip British. I don't need it, and I'll get there on my own merit. And for all the things that you've just said and the things that we do with this podcast, and that idea of bringing community together. That's what I would do it more for, is the fact that to see where I sit amongst my peers, but at the same time I wouldn't feel particularly upset if I didn't win and someone else won over me. I wouldn't be bitter that I felt they were better. It'd just be that case of, like you say, having a good night out and just meeting those people in your industry. And I feel that COVID did a lot of that for a lot of people. The people that were islands in this industry or didn't want to speak to anybody else, in that time when they had to sit indoors and isolate and had to miss a job, then they've got no one to call on. Yeah, they kind of really kind of felt that more, where the people that had made the effort to kind of be nice and reach out and kind of play that community, kind of the field of being kind of friendly, if you like, in our job, that I know that when, I had to sadly cancel on a couple or couldn't make it to their wedding because I was isolating, I had 3 or 4 friends that go, I'll cover you, and I did the same for them. And I think now it's one of my most favourite parts about this job is that whilst I'm a one-man business, I have loads of other people that I know on that do similar things to I do, and I love that.
Yeah, and I think it's so important for your own personal growth as well. Kind of having people around you that you look up to, that you aspire to. If you do this job in isolation, you'll find your formula, and you'll stick to it, and you won't grow and you won't develop. But when you have people that kind of you're almost accountable to, or you don't want to fall behind because you see everyone's level around you. And like the friendship group that we've got in the West Midlands, I've seen everyone's like level raise fast as well, because we're almost not that we're trying to impress each other, but you want to be accountable to each other, and you want to you want to stay at the same level, and then
but you lift
we're all
each other
giving each other
up,
advice.
don't you? That's it.
Literally,
you're not climbing over
absolutely.
someone, you're lifting each other up. Like
And that's so important, and I love that about it. And I think like with the awards, kind of I do like doing it each year now because my mate's there as well, and it's a great night when we go out together. But I think when I try and break down and go, why do I enter it? And I think like part of it's like it's a marketing opportunity, isn't it? It's kind of you put it out there like it's marketing, like your couples see that you're in finals and things like that. It looks good for you. But I think like it's the validation as well, right? It's like kind of, as much as I like to hide away from that, I want people to tell me I'm good. Like 100%. And when you win it and you think, wow, like some of the best in the business have looked through my work and my business, because it's not just the work, right? It's not just the films. It is how you handle your couples and the experience you give them, like start to finish. It's all of that into one. And for like some of the best in the game to look at your work and tell you you're good, like that feels great. That feels really good.
Yeah, and I don't think you need it. Like there's a lot of people who will do really, really well without it, but it's in the sort of industry that we're in, there's not a lot of things that will make us feel appreciated, or like do you know what I mean? That make us feel, you know, you get the email back from the couple, you get a few likes on Instagram, but like having something that you can go to and see people like who are at the top of their game, like get really sort of, appreciated is not the word, but like recognition, that's the one. Like we get the sort of recognition of, you sit at home, you bosh out a film, and then it's on to the next one. So I don't want to put it in the most simple terms, but that's basically what it is. You're normally straight on to the next one, and you don't really get a chance to be like, I've made a solid piece of work, and not only that, but I have guided someone for a really nice experience from the moment they booked me to the moment they got their film. And you get an email, you get a review, and then you move on. But then to get something where you can go to, you can dress up, there's loads of people there, everyone's at the top of their game, and then you might win something which like shows you the recognition, and it's like, I am on the right path, like I am doing the right thing. It's nice, I think, to have that.
And I think like kind of TWIA is the only. Not look at me, I'm calling it TWIA now. Yeah. It's the whole way the judging is put together, and the way the way you're judged, basically, it's flawless in my opinion. It's kind of, the couples have to vote for you and rank you based on like 7 categories out of 10. Highest percentage of that goes through to the finals, and then it goes to the judging panel, who you see your submission, they see your films, but they also get to see all the feedback from your couple. So it's a deep dive into everything, and it's fair and it's straightforward. Like every year you get some people in the groups like whinging about it, that usually ones that have people that expected to win but didn't, right? But when you look into and they all saying, oh, that person must know all the judges and things like that. It don't work like that. It's kind of
But for me, for someone that's never entered, that's been kind of an issue that I've always had, I think, with awards, where a lot of them, which are always done purely on public vote, there's no integrity into, I don't always feel that, not that the winner would ever have to be me, but I would like to feel that the best person won. Yeah. And when you get this kind of one, when you know that you've got people that are just better at shilling for votes than you are, or they've got people that are willing to sign up with multiple email addresses to vote for you, I kind of think then when it doesn't offer the truest representation.
It's
so
really
the fact that knowing that TWIA do go into those lengths, and you have a set panel, and it's not just about kind of a popularity contest. It is basically the quality of your work, the quality of your experience. I feel like I would feel more deserved if I'd won something like that, rather than knowing that I had my nan at home just giving me loads of votes.
It is a bit frustrating, isn't it, when you see someone that's like, oh yeah, I've won this award, and it's like you look at how it's judged, and it's like, yeah, it's literally just how many votes you can get, and it's like, are you proud of that? I don't know. Like, each to their own.
It's
and
a
everything.
marketing opportunity, though, isn't it?
100%.
I think when it comes down to that, it's kind of like, shout. I think we're quite bad at not shouting our achievements out, right? Being English or whatever. But we should. But at the same time, I've seen awards where you win based on how many tables, how many seats you sell at the award ceremony. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's ridiculous. I'd be embarrassed to shout about that.
Well, you kind of feel, did you win, or did you? Did you kind of like? It's almost a form of paying off the judges, isn't it? Because you sold 10 more seats than the other guy, you get the certificate. Yeah.
Well, I agree with you. I think TWIA is the best way to the way they do it is the best way to judge. I've been there twice and got highly commended in my region twice, but I do think that it's the fairest way they can possibly do it is to have people in the industry who are judging you, and your actual couples who are going in there and leaving feedback and scores is probably the best way to do it. So I feel like that's pretty, for anyone that doesn't know TWIA, that's a pretty good way of explaining it, is that it's like client voted. What's the actual line they use? Like client voted, scored by judges, or scored by industry professionals or something like that. But I feel like there's never going to be a way that pleases everybody. But in terms of how much you can trust an awards, I feel like within our industry, that's the one that people look at and say, that's sort of gospel.
Oh, for sure. I do. If people win that, people take note. Like people with, not that you're actively marketing to people in your industry, but like you said, it's nice to kind of feel that you have a level of recognition amongst your peers. And I think if you win TWIA, people that are in your industry go, oh, that means something. Where if you win, X other award that says that you're the best photographer on this planet, you kind of brush over it a little bit more.
Yeah, but what I think that adds to its integrity. So often you'll be at the finals and people will win it that aren't even in attendance, and that happens quite a lot, right? So part of you thinking, oh, if you don't buy a ticket, if you don't pay 50 quid for the ticket, whatever, then you're not going to win. But now all the time people are winning. It's literally just it's fair, it's honest, and
interesting though.
I wouldn't be saying that though, wouldn't I? I've won it, so it's so fair. It's the best awards.
Do you feel that your clients do take notice of it though, and it's something they mention when you're on calls, or that it's things that you reason that's what because everybody wants to feel that they have the best, especially for a wedding, don't they? And to have that kind of tagline that you can say for 2024, I am the best wedding videographer in the UK. That's do couples recognise that is what I'm asking.
Yeah, so kind of there's the two levels to it, right? There's the regionals, winning the regionals, then winning the nationals, the main one. And when I've won the regionals before, and winning the regionals, I didn't see a much difference in terms of my inquiries and stuff. But what I did find from winning the regionals was my couples that had already booked me loved it, and it would be like when I turn up at their wedding day, they'd be mentioning it to the bridal party, and so they'd be the first thing going, "Oh, we got in West." To be fair, quite often if they've already booked you, they don't discern between the regional and the national, so they're just like, "Oh, he won wedding video for the year," right? When I just won my region. But the difference between winning the nationals is you get. I've booked 2 weddings. I know for sure I've booked 2 weddings directly from winning the nationals.
Oh, wow.
Because they've mentioned. But it's more of people kind of, I don't know. It's more from people in the industry that I found a difference.
Yeah.
And when I was trying to put Coda on, I think it's opened a lot more doors for me having that recognition rather than being some random. The fact that I am a videographer that's kind of working and I've done, I've achieved something this year. I don't know. It feels like people would have taken me a bit more seriously than perhaps they would have done.
Do you feel more comfortable though now launching Coda off the back that you feel that you have that in the bag? Do you feel that you can, you feel more of an authority to put that together now that you're looked upon in that way?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Because when you're putting an event on and you're asking people to send you money, right? You need a bit of legitimacy about you.
Yeah.
And so yes, yeah, I do. It did help a little bit, I think. Yeah, and because you always have this kind of imposter syndrome, don't you? And winning a national award does chip away at that imposter syndrome a little bit. to a certain degree, not only a little bit.
No, but it does give you that legitimacy, doesn't it? Like people have heard of you, and if they've not, they can literally Google you and probably see that you've won that, and instantly that's like, okay, someone who's Videographer of the Year is organising something for videographers. It's clearly going to have some sort of like authority to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Rather than like some faceless random company that are like just putting something together.
Just for like money. You know what I mean? Like it could be anyone who's just started a company and is like, oh, I think this will be good. Let's start this. And like it's not like you don't necessarily know if they have the passion for it. Whereas it's very clear from what you do that you do. But do you think that winning the award is on its own is enough, or do you think you have to capitalize on it and like do other things to like, you know, grow from that? Is winning the award and just like leaving it at that and whacking it on your website enough, or do you have to do other things, do you reckon?
I know what you're saying. It's kind of because it lasts 1 year, right? I've got 1 year of this kind of title. In a certain way, I really wanted to take big steps into education side of this, because how long can I physically shoot weddings? So I wanted something to like dive into, and I think you win this award, that gives you a bigger authority. I had my behind the scenes stuff, my YouTube channel, all my videos ready for that. And I held off posting them because I thought the Nationals are coming up. I thought, just in case. Yeah. And then I won the Nationals and I was able to launch a week later there behind the scenes. So kind of, yes, in a way, I think this is the year for me to start pushing out the things I've really wanted to do. Like while I've got that recognition is the time to do it, right?
Yeah, use it as a catapult to really kind of throw you kind of into it. Yeah.
The reason I asked it is because I feel like you have done that. Like I noticed the BTS videos came out quite quickly, and then obviously Coda's come out. Like I feel like you are capitalising it in the nicest possible way. I feel like that's a really good thing that you're like being like, right, okay, this is my opportunity now to be like, people have heard of me now. Let's crack on and get these things like organised.
Yeah. And I think they've kind of fed into each other a little bit. It's almost kind of the behind the scenes I was always going to do anyway, but I thought it'd be worth holding off till after the Nationals because it's in January, and that's when videographers are going to have a chance to watch YouTube videos that are like an hour long. Yeah. But then the fact I'd won the Nationals is when Coda was just an idea I had, and I've been pitching it to other people, hoping they'd put it on for me because I just wanted to attend it. Yeah. But it was like speaking to Andy from Ninedots, and I think the fact that I've like said, oh, I like this event will be ace. The fact I've got a little bit of recognition of winning national, they're like, put it on, like you could be the face of it, like it'll work, kind of. Yeah. So it's kind of, but it wasn't really my intention to do Coda this year. It was just an idea. I really liked the idea of it, but the fact that I'd won the national meant it accelerated for me, I think. And without me really planning it, was almost other people have like.
But don't you think that's the best way though? Is that you've almost then gauged a response and gone, yes, there's a need for this. People are wanting it, and again, it still takes kind of balls or guts or whatever to kind of go, yes, we're doing this. Like you said, it's easy to sit back and and go, oh, I'd really love a conference where I could meet lots of new videographers or hear something from these people. But the fact that you've gone, yes, there's a need for it. Yes, I've got this platform. Let's make it happen, and you've done it. Yeah. I think it's commendable.
It was kind of the opposite though. People were telling me there wasn't a need for it. And that it wouldn't do well, and like kind of some of the comments are saying that videographers don't invest in education, and videographers because there's so many of these opportunities out there, like conferences for photographers, loads. You've got like Ninedots, Snap, Elevate. There's all sorts, but there's nothing for videographers. And when I was pitching it to people that kind of already run these kind of events. And they were saying, but videographers are a funny bunch, aren't they? We don't know if they'll turn up or, show up. But I was thinking, you only think that because there's never been these opportunities for them. We've never had anything. Us videographers, we've never had an event like this. So, and even right up until, when I even kind of like asked my friends about it, and they were like, it sounds good for like beginners or whatever. But I think, no, it's not the event I want put on. It's not just for the basics. It will reach across the entire videography community, as in wherever you are, whatever level you're at. If you're at a high level, you'll feel inspired and motivated, you'll learn something. And if you're just starting out, it will be probably absolutely mind-blowing, I think. But but even the night before we put the tickets on launch, I was like doubting it. And we based it on selling 40 tickets. Wow. Like we had options in terms of the venue, so that the scale of what we need to go to with what it's the first event, it's the first of its kind, we don't know how it's going to sell. Let's make it so it'll work at least 2 different levels, so like 40 tickets. And like if we sell 40 tickets, we'll be okay. And then like within 2 days, we'd sold 130. So yeah, that was pretty mind-blowing.
That's absolutely crazy. I think like, yeah, you've definitely, would you say that then the awards might be, we'll definitely come on to like a full Coda like topic in a second, but like, would you say that the awards might even be better if you wanted to be a bigger name within the industry, not necessarily with couples then as well? Like maybe...
Yeah, I think it's bigger. I think winning the national is of more value to you within the industry itself, rather than couples. But then I think planners as well are more likely to reach out to you when you've got the backing of the national award. And I was speaking to Mike, who won the national the year before me, Mac Videography, and he's... planners like reach directly out to him on the back of it as well. So you get it from that point. So you get the bigger weddings from people within the industry. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Mike
I don't think
good.
couples are looking necessarily. Like I said, I know I've booked 2, but I don't think couples really understand, because you're getting married. Usually it's the first time you've ever done it. You're completely new to searching this industry, so you have no idea about the awards and stuff.
I've always wondered, but whether it's been like, oh, I've won national, now I'm just getting like flooded with inquiries. But I feel like it's more of a, you can put it there, you get more respect in the industry. It's a bit of self-worth as well in a way. And you're more respected in the industry in having that. But I feel like I don't know necessarily if couples go on and they're looking for that when they're looking for the style and the sort of person. Like, does it really matter in that sense? It's nice to have it there, of course. And I would love to have it, but it's whether... I know that the guy who runs it, he went on a podcast and he said, like, you can't just win the award. You've then got to go brag about it everywhere for it to be good marketing, right? Like, that is why...
But the fact that TWIA means something is because people like yourself and other people that have won have gone on, and it's not just people that win and then fade away. It's the fact that they've become kind of real pillars of our industry, or people that come into the industry look to and go, like, he's providing a benchmark by saying that you are the best videographer, and it's kind of your responsibility then, isn't it? It's in the same way that if you were like a boxing champion, like, they make a belt, don't they? Like, you think of some of the biggest champions you've had, and then you get some that lose it the next time. It's the fact that you go, okay, you won this, and then from that you made Coda, and then and that goes on to be the huge success, which I have no doubt that it's going to be, is that then hopefully more people will enter his reward, because then they'll go, well, that could lead to this for me. So
I mean, it's a strange one, isn't it? Kind of, it would have been quite easy to like just sit on it and just let it just be excited about it for a year, but it has opened up opportunities for me, which has been incredible, and I wasn't expecting them at all. But I think especially for doing it for video is really valuable, because we are quite often one of the last things to be booked, right? So if other suppliers are aware of us and they know that we do a good job, like, I get a lot of work from other photographers, and for them to see that I've won this award, I must go up in their estimation, I assume. So when they're recommending me, they know they're recommending someone decent, even if they've not worked with me before, because you can't win that award with being massively rubbish. Like,
to say that you're recommending...
You wouldn't have been mediocre like me. There's got to be at least a certain standard, right?
To say that you're recommending someone that has like won National Videographer Award as a photographer, like, that gives you some authority as well, doesn't it? Like, I recommend this person.
People recommend you to drag themselves up. Anything. It's like, if they kind of go, who's my pal? Did you know that he's the wedding videographer of the year? It sets you in that company, doesn't it?
So are you...
You're bigging me up here a lot, guys. I'm feeling the love.
Making you feel confident.
Mark's not going to be able to handle me later on. Like, he's like so big-headed.
So are you going to be a judge next time round, or is that something that's on the table? Or?
I don't think so. No, I think.
That's why Chris is being nice to you. He thought you were going to judge, and he wants to enter.
In that case, see you later. Let's end the call.
Delete the podcast. No, I think there's something like. I know the Lawsons were the last ones I know that became judges that had won it, but they were winning it year on year. It was probably a case of, right, become judges now, so give someone a chance.
Give someone a chance,
And thank goodness. Like, I remember when the first time I won, I was up against the Lawsons for National, was the... I'm going to go to the Nationals. I know I'm not going to win. Don't stand a single chance against these guys. But so no, it's not. It's not been pitch to me. I'd love it though, to be fair. I would love to be a judge. Put it out there, Damien. Hit me up, I'd be a judge.
You heard it here first. And last thing just about the awards. So obviously, like, you've got to the very end of it. Is there anything that you would recommend for people that are applying, or little tips you can give me and I can not give everyone else, about your application and what to put in it? Did you do anything special? Did you find that something might have stood out? Or
no, so it's a strange one video, because they do recommend you maybe sending a video talking about yourself or something like that, but then that does take up one of your slots of a video submission. So you get three videos you can send in, which the judges do get access to look at all your films on your website anyway, I guess. Yeah. But I'm thinking they're going to be looking at those 3 films initially to get a feel for it. So and a lot of people have asked me, did I do an application video? And no, I didn't. I put my 3 best films in. I put I thought which one was my best at the start, and then I wanted variation. So my other 2 films, I wanted them to be a little bit varied to the first one. Always thinking when the judges are looking at it, I want to hit them with the impact of the first video. And then when it comes to like the submission, you just be honest with your answers, right? So I don't have any specific tips, to be fair. There's nothing special I've done or sent money to the judges or anything like that. But the one thing that people do ask me over and again, let's say, about the submission video, I've did of me talking, but no, it's literally just my 3 best films I submitted.
That's useful.
Yeah, that is definitely useful. And I feel like it's the kind of thing, because it's client voted, that you can't just hide behind your films as well. Like it's just as much about how you're treating them, because then they come back and vote you and score you out of 10 and everything. So the whole year, it's not just like you apply and then it's like, oh, my films are absolutely definitely the best. It's like not just necessarily about that, just like the industry and how we get booked isn't necessarily just about our quality of film. It's about the whole experience. So
and that's what it comes down to when you break down what we do. The most important thing in the world is that we're creating obviously a great final product for our couples, but also that whole experience of that final product being created is great for them as well. Like they're coming into, it's one of the biggest days of their life up to date. Excuse me. Yeah, it's like one of the biggest days of their life, and probably the biggest chunk of money they've spent in one go as well, apart from maybe a house or something, whatever, like to a one-day event. And they're going in blind to a certain degree, and we need to be there to help them and guide them, and then also make sure that that day is a wonderful experience for them that we can capture without ruining that vibe. And then, because you see some of these films that, you see some videographers and you see their films like, oh my God, that is phenomenal. But the process of making that film would be incredibly disruptive to that day. The whole wedding day would have to be based around the video, right? And I guess to a certain degree, as long as couples know that going into that experience, I guess that's fine, right? But with things like TWIA, when it's looking into how your business is made and how you approach it, that really is a sign of good business, right? If you can create great work, but also a great experience for your couples as well. And it's really important that we can do that for people.
I think some people also put too much focus on the end result as well. I'm not saying that it gives you an excuse to make a shit film, but is realizing that you are somebody which has the ability to create a really positive or negative impact on that person's day by the way that you carry yourself, the words that you use, and the times that you choose to get the elements that you need. And I think it's just if you've got 2 weddings in a weekend or 30 that year, like, is remembering, isn't it? They've only got that one, and if you can use your experience to help calm them or reassure them, or like I say, really kind of carry them through that day. And it's all those things that are not on your job description when you sign up to be their videographer that probably in the end help embellish their experience far more than what you do with your camera.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is massively important. And the other thing with TWIA as well, kind of, you get all that feedback that they give. Obviously you don't see it until afterwards, but after the awards, you get sent it. And I have made changes to my business based on the feedback I have received. It's invaluable stuff because they're kind of giving it anonymously as well. They're kind of, it can be like a bit no holds barred. It's usually all nice stuff, but there's been little good things that I thought, oh, I could make that better for people going forward, and it's helped me tweak my business.
Yeah, so it's worth the entry alone just to have that kind of, say, to have people who are judging it, who you say assume they're at the pinnacle of our industry, kind of giving you that feedback. It's almost like a mini mentoring thing, isn't it? Really, from like some of that.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
You do get feedback.
And
I feel like
hold you accountable throughout the year. Sorry, mate. Hold you accountable throughout the year as well. Kind of when you know you're entering, you're kind of like, you got that thing in your head like, I need to be on top of my game here, as you would be anyway. But to have that extra level of it, kind of like, being accountable for the awards, I guess.
You do. It pushes you to do well in other elements of your business that aren't as visible to the public. And like, I know that like I've got the first year. I think one of the like. A lot of the feedback is basically just, great videographer, like, good times, like great bloke, whatever. Like it's not that useful. And I've said this out loud before, but every now and then, like a couple will leave something that's like, oh, I kind of wish that was the case. Or like, one person was like, I know this person used to do video albums. You know, video albums, a little book that you open and it's got the screen inside. And I really wish they used to do it, like they still did it, but now they don't. So I was like, okay, interesting. I've still not reintroduced it, and I probably won't because I feel like it's a bit tacky now. But then, like,
it's nice to kind of have an ear to the ground though, where they feel they can anonymously say these things, but they might have not messaged you and go, I really want one of those. And
I don't think it is anonymous. I think actually no, because
they can choose to be if they want to.
Oh, can they?
Because I've got some that come through as anonymous. But
I had a couple who
it's anonymous, but they've not said anything. They've just said nice stuff, but like it's anonymous. Like, who said that? But feedback I've had before is, I remember one was kind of, I wish this was a while back. This was like, so year on year I've improved based on my feedback to get to the point where I have one, I guess. But one was, I wish he'd mentioned, so I can't remember how they worded it, but basically I think the groom's shirt had come untucked a little bit at the back.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I'd got a shot where that is like his shirt. So it's basically when you get the sunset shots and they don't have that jacket on, it's just a waistcoat. And shirts go wild at that point, right?
Yeah.
So I think a bit his shirt had come out, but now I am on that stuff. Like if I'm getting a shot, like I wouldn't stop halfway through the day to like tuck him in or whatever.
Yeah.
But when we're getting some nice portrait shots, I do make sure to take note of things and make sure that I'm not just concentrating on the composition or like that. Visually things look good. I always had someone saying, I wish he'd offer 4K option. so and now I do.
Yeah.
Since last week.
One of the ones I got last year was something about, I wish we had more prep footage. And that was because there was literally three people in prep and there was nothing going on and nobody moved the whole morning. So I was like, I'm just not going to include much of it. But in hindsight, maybe I just should include like lots of shots of the same thing, but from different angles, just to please people. It's not really me, to be honest. Like if I feel like there's a part of the day which is not memorable, it probably won't go in as well. But
they kind of I find myself putting less and less prep in general because
same.
I'm there so long. Like when I'm looking at my films, quite often I think, why is this point of the day where they're not dressed exactly how they want to be? Why is so much of that getting shown? And so I find myself like putting less and less of this.
Yeah, agreed.
But there's I find myself like at the start of every wedding season having like an existential crisis, thinking, why am I filming someone having makeup put on?
Yeah.
What does that mean? What does it mean to the world? Like, but then do people want that? Do we just do it because we expect it? I get like even things like a shot of the dress. I understand that we get that because it's cost a lot of money and it's nice to see it. It's nice to remember it because it's going to get trashed in 7 minutes time as soon as they start walking. And all the bits and the details, I get that because you want to remember it. But then makeup going on, what does that mean? Yeah. And I often get the groom, because the lads in the morning, you know what it's like, right? The lads, if you leave them to their own devices, they'll find a dark corner and just get dressed in it like that. So I usually go put them by a bit of window light and then, get them to get ready there. But then I'm thinking, are they just going to remember from their morning that they were staring out a window randomly doing their tie? Like, what does this mean? This is totally not natural. But unless you slightly orchestrate the day a little bit, you're not going to get a good shot. But at the same time, I'm thinking, why am I making this guy do this on his day?
And you don't.
But then the other part of my brain is the lads want to be told what to do. They want to be just kind of like, they just want, I can get the shot in 5 minutes if I'm standing here and I can be out your way, mate, and I can be back capturing the girl.
Isn't that normally one of the first things that a groom will say to you? When you walk in, it's like, what do you want me to do, mate?
Where do you want me? Yes,
and then literally
it is.
And then they are leaning on you to go, make me look good. And that's their kind of British kind of way of going, like, just get what, get what you need to get done. Like, they also going to get to the bar and have a beer. So it's like, well, if you can get me into my suit, get me looking good in a nice bit of light, I'll do that for you, just so we can move on with it. And that's kind of how I feel about it.
And
absolutely. And I think what it is James from 2408 Films. When he was on about his wedding film, he said that the videographer got him there pretending to do his tie by like a window and stuff, and he was like, now he looks back at that. When he watches his film back, he's like, whenever he sees that bit, he's like, I was just faking it. Like so he doesn't do it himself. And I was like, oh yeah.
I did the same from my wedding film as well. I mean, in my wedding film, it's pretty much the same. Like, go by a window, now we'll do your cufflinks, now you'll do your tie. Yeah. And whenever I look at those photos and videos, they literally mean nothing to me. Like, I'm literally there, like, just concentrating on pretending that I'm doing things. And like,
does your wife like it though?
Sorry?
Does your wife like it though, looking at those pictures?
Not. I guess she likes looking at the other ones where it's like the best man's there, like sorting me out and things like that. Like there's a bit more like interaction between other people, I think, rather than just because I explained to her like this is, and because she does it with me, the video stuff, so because she knows how it all works and stuff. She's like, that was.
She knows it's not genuine.
I know that was just you stood by a window and that two cameras that she pointed in your face doing this.
She knows how the sausage is made. She knows too much.
I love that expression. I'm going to steal that.
That's great. But it's a done thing, isn't it? And I feel like I'm trying deliberately this year to not try and set up groom prep as much, because I would be that person who gets a groom by a window and literally like shirt, cufflinks, tie, everything's done. Not shirt, like blazer, everything's done by a window. But now I'll be a bit more like, come to the window. And then you crack on naturally, and I'll try and because every shot and every sort of groom getting ready shot ended up looking more or less identical with like
when you're filming
by a window. Exactly. So I've tried to make an effort of you come into the light, but then you do what you want. Just do it slower, basically, isn't it? So
do you shoot every wedding as a duo?
No. So I've got a package with just me. And I've got a couple of packages with 2 videographers, which is either my wife or I'll find someone else to do it if she's not available. So,
that's it. Because I think like when you've got the 2 of you, you can spend as much time as you want with that groom, then can't you, and catch the natural stuff. But like when you've got 2 minutes to get over to him and then back to the bride again, it's like.
You're right. You're right. When I'm doing the packages on my own, I walk into the groom's room, and if they're not ready, I'm like, right, sort it out. Come to the window.
Yeah, that's why I'm not on in 2 minutes. I'm gone. Yeah.
You've seen me like this, literally like waiting for them to get ready, and just like you can see the steam coming out of my ears. And I'm just like, there's 10 minutes to the ceremony. Why is he still not ready? Like,
I had one with the groom where I went to go to his room, and it was just him getting ready. I wanted to get some shots of him. He went, oh, wait a minute, I'm not quite ready yet. And I was stood outside that hotel. I don't know how long. It was forever. I basically came to the point where I had 140 seconds with him. And I managed to get what I needed in that time. Like, put him by that window. And afterwards, I thought, if I can capture that, like, I'm good. But if they do exactly what I was doing.
I think a deadline's good for you, though. Like, that one you can have too long. And then you kind of go, I could film this, I could do that, I could wait for this. And in the end, I think it's sometimes just being robust and kind of is...
I once stood in a room for an hour while the groom was like, I walked into this room for groom prep at the time we'd agreed. And he's like, where's the groom? Well, I don't know where he is. Like 10 minutes later, he rocks up with his towel. I just had a bath, mate. I was like, right, okay. and then he was like getting his kids ready. And then he was like, oh yeah, just give me like 10 minutes. Went downstairs, came back in 20 minutes. And then I got a call from the photographer, like, the bride's getting a dress. You've missed all of bride prep. I was like, right,
oh my God.
Okay, because I couldn't go there because I was waiting for him and I couldn't do it until he was done. And the amount of times I told him. But yeah, like nowadays I'd literally be like, I'm off, basically. Like, I think then I didn't really have the authority, the thing to do it. But now I'll just be like, you either get ready now or you're not getting it, basically. That's the main thing.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's experience though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is,
yeah, and experience I like... How you assume, especially with weddings, experience is that's what people are paying for. From us. It's our experience on a day, on being able to the work they've seen. We can deliver that wedding in, wedding out, day in, day out, like no matter what's happening on that day, because we had experience to handle it all. But even to this point now, there'll be, I feel like I've seen it all. I've seen everything that can happen at a wedding, everything that can go wrong, and how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Every now and again, I still get a new one though, right? It craps up. But then you're more with the experience, you're more well equipped to deal with whatever's thrown at you. And
you kind of, I think in those instances, it's good to look back and go, well, how much would that have thrown me 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Like that would have sent me into a spiral of panic on the day, where now you kind of think, well, oh, it's just a bump in the road, and like you say, you kind of deal with it, or you don't let it phase you as much as you would have done other times. And that's kind of the mark of, I think, is kind of appreciating how far you've come. It's not always, you like to think that your output, what you produce for your couple increases year on year, but it's also the way that you kind of deal with those curveballs that are thrown at you, don't you?
Absolutely, and being able to just, because that's it. When you're early on in this career and something goes wrong, it rocks you big time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does,
and then the rest of the day you're spiraling. Whereas I've got to a good point now where I can turn off that bit of my brain. If something's gone wrong, like, right, forget about it. We'll deal with it later. And
I feel like that now. I kind of think, but I think your couples, and again, like that experience thing, appreciate that. Like I've had people say to me in the past, it's like, I have no idea how you stay so cool or unflappable on a day. And it's like, but you can't let it change. You can't let that kind of rock you to your core, that it tampers with your output or your memory of the rest of the day. You've got to just kind of roll with those punches, get up, dust yourself off, and move on with it, whatever it looks like after what's happened, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. And I've found, I remember the point when I suddenly started backing myself, like that point where I thought, no matter, I think at a certain wedding, you have those weddings and you're in them and you're like, if I can get something good out of this, then I'm doing all right. I know I'm doing all right. And I had that happen a few times. There was a certain wedding where it was absolute chaos. But when I got into the edit, I put together a film I was really proud of. I was like, right, I back myself now. I'm not going to doubt myself anymore. And that kind of changed in my mind. I thought, I'm always going to be able to deliver something to the standard that people expect from me. I know I can. And from that point on, I went into every wedding with so much more confidence in terms of, not arrogance, but I knew that I would be able to create something beautiful for them, no matter what's thrown at me. And my work improved because of that, because I was more confident. I wasn't second guessing myself. I was going in and I was handling it as the best way. I saw my work just improve loads. And I think that's like one thing I'd recommend to everyone is like, look at the work you've delivered over the years, what you've managed to achieve in all these circumstances, and just start believing in yourself a bit more.
I felt that there's some days, there are days where everything is literally handed to you on a plate with grapes next to it, that you just end up in the right bits of light, you get the right bit of weather, and almost the day's given to you and it's yours to mess up. And then I feel there are other days where I'm literally treading over people and wrestling that, like the good stuff out of like kind of like a rabid dog's mouth, and you get to the end of it and you're like I've earned this today, like everything that film is. And sometimes I think that maybe they're the ones that I enjoy the most when I do the edit, because like I say, you feel that sense of achievement of like, for everything that this film could have been for what happened and went wrong, I've still managed to elevate it to this point. And the days that you kind of, I like it when those days where everything gets handed to me, but you almost kind of look at it and go, it's too easy. Like,
I think you're right though.
I like to embrace the chaos. Like those weddings where you're like, when you run in like that, I get a real buzz off that now, especially like kind of, well, when you're running from bridal prep to the ceremony, you're getting set up. At the time, you're like, ooh, but when you've done it, when you're rolling, you're like, afterwards, you're like, oh.
And also your couples do notice, or your guests do notice. And that's when that uncle comes up to you kind of in that lull before first dance and offers to buy you a beer. Cause it's like, you're still here. I saw you running earlier. You've put a shift in today. And they haven't seen any of the footage yet, but they still know you've been working hard for that couple, and they appreciate it as someone who's kind of just, say just a guest, but they're not kind of in that kind of key part of the
you definitely really need to work those weddings where like you're struggling in the light, like winter weddings where you've not got much time, you're struggling in the light, or weddings where there's like multiple locations and you're on your own, to like have that knowledge of what's possible and what's not. So not only you can then like educate them beforehand on like, oh, we need to have this amount of time to do this or this amount of time to do this, but also like you say, when something goes wrong, you either you can recover it from it pretty quickly, or I think generally now there's not a lot, because of the way that the workflow that I have, and I guess most videographers have that are good at their job, there's not a lot that can really go wrong that would dramatically change the outcome of the film. Does that make sense? Like if a microphone goes wrong, I've got backup audio. Yeah. If if a camera breaks or comes up with a database error thing, it's there's not a lot of really important shots that can't be done again in that situation.
But again, kind of like looping this back round and kind of mildly segueing it back to Coda, is that because you've done it for that length of time now, and I think all of us underestimate our own experiences, or the fact that you've dealt with other videographers that have had these images and you've spoken to them and know how they've overcome it. Yeah. But if you are someone new to the industry or someone that's considered themselves and been an island, to come to something like the conference that you're putting on and hearing people that they probably look up to speak, or even just chatting to the videographer sat next to them, and having those conversations about, did you do this, or have you learned this? It's those, like, that base level of knowledge and kind of friendship they'll walk away with, hopefully will give them a lot of that confidence if they don't already have it.
Yeah, so I think we should. I think we should get into what Coda actually is for people. Well, for the videographers that have been living under a rock, because it's been very popular. I can already see, and I saw a post in the videographers group like a couple of days ago, like looking for a Coda ticket. Anyone got one? And I almost wanted to comment and just be like, 500 quid, please. It's massive. Start scalping the tickets because the people are clearly
the Taylor Swift ticket of the wedding videography world, right?
Yeah. It's Yeah, it's been the reaction to it was like we could not have expected. Like it was our dream scenario basically, and it's kind of like the idea for Coda is I've got a group of, like I was saying, like in the West Midlands, there's a group of us, and we're quite tight with each other, and every year we rent an Airbnb, and we all get together before the season starts. And we just share ideas, we show films, we do a thing like kind of, you have to choose your worst film from the year previously and your best film from the year, and we spin a wheel and you have to show one of them, and then we all get to watch and critique. We share what our goals are for the year so we can all be accountable to each other, we can maybe help each other out and stuff like that. Yeah. And we do this every single year, and it's fantastic, and it's one of the best things I do from a business. And it was kind of, I want this for everyone. I want everyone, especially in the videography community. We don't have this on a larger scale. And it was like, what could make this little retreat better would be bringing people in that we really admire to hear them talk, But to do that, it costs money, right? So the idea is like, if we do it on a bigger scale, it means we can bring in really good people to speak. Yeah. And what I want from it is for everyone to be inspired, motivated, but equally as important, maybe even more important, is to get us all together in person, out of the noise of the Facebook groups, in person with each other, chatting, sharing ideas face to face with your peers. The lineups for Coda, obviously we've got mega stars in there, but I also want it to be relatable as well. So not just people that are just shooting these like 20 grand weddings. I want people that are kind of shooting the kind of weddings we are, so we feel relatable content's in there, and that the talks themselves are really hitting different areas of the industry and our businesses and how we can improve in our businesses. And it's not just talks as well. We're doing sections with the Lawsons and Ben Tyngate where they're doing their talks, but they're also a different section a day showing us a film, and we're going to get to do a deep dive into that edit to how they actually made it, how that film was filmed. We can ask them questions about where was your camera position, what were you using here, what was your choices, really picking their brains about how they created films. So it's not just kind of like philosophy talking about the philosophy of how they film and the why, it's how and physically how. And I was saying, like, with videographers, we are kind of very, us videographers, we're very gear heavy people to a certain degree. It's quite in the forefront of our minds quite a lot. So to get these talks where we can talk gear as well, not just like the philosophy and the art of it, I think will be really fantastic, and that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I feel like you say, we're quite technical based. So to see, having been to like the Lawson's workshop earlier this year, where they talk about more what they're thinking when they're capturing things, rather than like, we use like voice isolation or we use this editing software. It's more about the thought process in how you film. I feel like that's really sort of an interesting thing that a lot of videographers don't think about. And also in terms of these workshops, I remember like a few weeks ago talking to you about, I'm just going to go to a photography workshop because there's nothing for video. And like, I remember like we were talking about going to one together and like later on in the year or something, just because I was like, there's nothing for video to have that like community, and I'm quite jealous of the photographers who are like all goes to these like workshops for a couple of days, then they're shooting with people who like they've heard of before and doing like these styled shoots, and it's like I kind of feel like, oh, us videographers are a bit left out over here. So I feel like a lot of like the hype over it has come from we did need this.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt about it that videographers did need this. So I think it's a really good.
And I think as well, anyone that said to you that they didn't think there would be a need for it is the proof's in the pudding, right? The fact that you could sell out on a pre-sale and you've sold almost 4 to 5 times the tickets that you thought that you might have done when you put this on, just shows that not only is there a need for it, but there is a want from the community that they want these spaces to do these things in, and you've kind of offered that to them, and they've responded by giving you their trust and their money.
Yeah, it's been incredible. And the first thing I did obviously was I contacted the people I wanted. So I had a dream list of who I wanted to be there.
Nice.
And I contacted them all, and they all said yes from the start. I was like, oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting this. So, and it helps that the lineup for Coda is like absolute superstars there. It's phenomenal.
I said to Chris before we spoke about on the last one, I was like, I think, and again from someone who's a photographer, I was like, it is pretty much a who's who across the country and in such varying styles as well, but every kind of top level of the industry. I said, but if he does another one, I don't know how he's going to top it. That's the problem.
Yeah. As you were announcing them, I was kind of like, oh, like they've literally like it's the first one, and I did not expect the first one to be literally like Tom said, the who's who. Like that is sort of everyone that you would expect to see.
But the fact that they all said yes, I think, is amazing.
The fact that they've all just gone,
but then I think if I was a videographer and got asked to go and speak, it's like we said about with the award, isn't it? Is that to go and speak to a room of people then which are in your industry, and they will appreciate that stuff much more, rather than you being the token video guy at a photo conference. Yeah. To be asked to speak to a room of videographers, that means something, doesn't it?
It is kind of like that proper superstar lineup, and but they'll. All I can say is I'm actively working on next year already, so it will be just as good. And I'm also looking for feedback from the community that we've built already to see who people want to see speak, because obviously we want this people. I want people from all across the industry. Like we want those kind of superstar names that we can aspire to, but also relatable as well, like relatable people that we kind of like shooting at the same kind of weddings as us. So they're going through the same stuff we are. They're at the top of their game, but still kind of doing the same kind of work we are. And it will be, the plan is year on year is to create an amazing event that people look forward to going to. And I want the community from it to be built as well. So like, when people meet, I want people to meet each other at Coda and then form relationships that can last them throughout the years and help develop their businesses. And I want us all to help raise the level of work of British wedding videographers, and the better we all get, right? The more we can
exactly. On the note of people, I've seen you put out a story saying who would you like to see for 2025, and I feel like the best thing to, like you say, you want to get people who are at the absolute top of their game, but there's a lot of people out there who are doing very well and haven't spoken on a lot of these things.
But I honestly believe everyone has something to teach, no matter what level you are at in this industry. Even if you're brand new, because you're coming in brand new with this all the technology and kind of interacting with it the first time, we've been doing this for a while and we're setting our ways with how we shoot. Yeah. If you're coming in new and you're using, like, you might find new features on something because you're having to research it from the ground up, whereas we're stuck in our ways, we don't look at the instruction manuals anymore.
We had this exact conversation, didn't we, the other day about people coming into the industry and how tuned in they are. Obviously, you've got the YouTube channel now for BTS, but for me, it's been doing this almost a decade now, to even think to pull my phone out and record something of the day whilst I'm shooting it, it really takes a degree of learning to do that. Where I think people that are new now, they've started at a point where social media is a fundamental cornerstone of their business, that they know they need that. And I think they're a lot more proactive in kind of getting that stuff in than us that have been doing it a while are. That was the kind of the example that I found as well. And I think it's it's that kind of classic nature of everybody that's kind of been in a while looks at the new people coming in and are kind of like, well, they're kind of biting at our ankles, and I wish I was that good, that new. But then I think because of things like Coda and all of that, is the moment is that there's a lot more ability for people to learn faster now than when we started.
Yeah, when we started, there wasn't like necessarily the groups that you could just go and ask someone if you've got a problem with a couple or a technical problem. And if anything, it was probably more gate kept in a way. Yeah. It was like, if you probably, as a photographer, you probably couldn't go to another photographer. They'd be looking at, you're not experienced. Like,
why am I going to tell you my secrets? And it goes back to that community thing that you spoke about with the awards. And the fact that, say, to offer not just, a lineup of kind of real kind of dream, people look at some of the speakers that you've got and go, I'd love to be in their shoes, but and watching their amazing films, and sometimes it maybe can be hard to see how you would take your business to that point, where if you have those kind of people in the middle which are, like you say, are really solid filmmakers, but you're like, he only lives 20 minutes down the road from me and he's shooting in the venues that I shoot at, it becomes a lot more aspirational or a lot more achievable, doesn't it, I think, as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I want from Coda as well, I want people to, from the talks themselves, I want people to come away with practical takeaways that they can then activate into their business straight away and improve. But I also want them to come away with this kind of like, I feel like they've made connections with people that are going to help lift them throughout the year as well. And kind of, so it's Raoul and Andy from Ninedots that have helped collaborate with me to help put Coda on. I went to Ninedots in 2016 when I was back when I was a photographer, and I made friendships at that I'm still with now, like the kind of like the retreats that we do. I do a photo version one as well. We've got a friendship group from Ninedots so it's like this little subset of a community from a bigger community that we look after each other throughout the year. We help each other out. Well, when my kids were born, I had friends from that group come along to weddings with me when my wife was due basically, when she was due to give birth. So the weddings I had around then, my friends would come with me as a second shooter, then take over for me. And that kind of like subset of communities is what I want Coda to kind of foster and help make happen, basically.
I think it will. I think it's as much about people coming to learn as it is about like forming this community, because we're already halfway there with something like the UK Videographers group, and I'm sure there's other Facebook groups for courses and things like that where people are like quite tight, but it's all over online, and there's not, like you say, those sort of micro communities. And I know that as soon as I put up on my story saying I've got a ticket, I had a few messages from people who I followed for a while but never really got to meet, just like, see you there, and like that brought a feeling in me. And then I was like, buzzing, I get to meet these people, these people who for a while I'd followed, I'd spoken to probably loads over Instagram or Messenger or whatever, but not necessarily like met or probably wouldn't arrange to meet. And now we're going to be all in this room together. We're going to be recognizing people, and I'm genuinely really excited for that experience, probably more so than or equally as the hearing from the professionals. That's exactly what I want to hear, and that's how I built this and how it's been formulated, even down to the timetable for the day, and the venue we've picked as well. We picked a venue with fantastic social space, so we'll have the breaks throughout the day, these half-hour breaks, and then obviously an hour for lunch and that. But that's to kind of enable these moments for people to get together and to chat. So you're not just getting spoken at the whole time. You're getting these kind of opportunities to socialise. And then when the event finishes, we're going to hire a bar that we can all move on to as well. So you can continue the informal chats and basically just let's get social. Let's get all the videographers together, because we've not had this opportunity before. But and I was adamant we needed it. People were telling me that it wasn't necessarily not necessary, but. Yeah, no, clearly we do, right? We definitely needed
it. When the tickets went on sale, and then straight away all the tickets, like the sale, were coming through, I was like, I've not met these people. I don't know. I was expecting my mates, it'd be all my mates coming in, buying the tickets, but it wasn't. And my mates were like the last ones. They only just got in, because they leaving it. So they're probably hoping for some kind of discount code, maybe. But when it was all these people that I didn't know, I was like, this is fantastic, because I want to meet new people. I want to connect with videographers I haven't connected before. And if we're bringing the British UK wedding photographer scene together, I think only good things from this can happen.
Yeah, that is the way to do it. And I feel like recently we did a workshop, didn't we?
Yeah.
And even though like us giving the educational part of it was like quite fulfilling, I feel like at the end when everyone was like, oh, let's go for a pint, let's go for a drink, and then we were all just sat around having a chat, and like that we'd sort of built this of these photographers and videographers. There's only 6 or 7 of us that haven't not necessarily haven't met each other before, are all suddenly like having a drink after our little workshop, and it was like that was quite a nice feeling. So I feel like when you're in that room, like seeing everyone just like mingle, that's going to be a good
I think it's incredibly leveling as well, because it's really easy especially when you have a conference and you kind of put these speakers on a stage, or they're people that people sit at and look at on Instagram and go, oh, I really want that, like to almost to humanize those people and be able to just go up to them in a kind of a social setting afterwards, and kind of, if you have that question, you can do that, or realize that they're real people just running their businesses the same as you are. And it's not only with the speakers, but I've done it at conferences where you've seen somebody across a room and go, oh, I know that person, I follow them on Instagram, oh, their work's really, really good. And you kind of have this like online thing built up of what you think they're going to be like because of their work or whatever. And then when you go over and have a chat with them and you find out they're just a normal person and say, like, I think Instagram has that ability, doesn't it, to kind of make you kind of build up an image of somebody based on what they share or their work. And to kind of have that kind of knock it back down to kind of just a human interaction, I think is lovely.
Yeah. And then I think Russell Kent Nichols is the actual prime example of that. Like, in my head, he's this superstar, man. Yeah. But he's the most humble, lovely dude. Yeah. Like, if you see his stories, if you watch his stories on Instagram, that's exactly how he is. Right? He's just a really, really relatable, lovely dude. Like, and to get these people out there and to get us all together, just chatting. It's going to be phenomenal. It's basically it's the event I wanted to attend is the event I've created, like with Andy Roll. It's I've created it because I wanted it to exist, and so the only way I could make it exist was for me to do it.
That's why you can tell the passion has gone into it. I can't remember whether we were speaking about it on the pod or off the pod now, but you can, I think it was off the pod actually, you can tell when someone would come in and start something with the pure intention of making money or being like, oh, I think people want this, so let's just create this and see how many tickets we can sell. And how like on the other side of the spectrum, you have Coda and you guys who have like put together something you're just passionate about. It's something that, like you say, it's something that you wanted. So you've gone, I think people are like this, and like you're clearly putting a lot into it, and the passion and like love shows through. And it's not just like, come buy my tickets and like put out an advert for tickets and
also like not to play it down, but organising, to say we organised a workshop for like half a dozen people. And the time and the work that went into that was phenomenal. Yeah. Let alone organising a conference in a venue and navigating different speakers that's huge. And try and do that alongside running a full-time wedding business. Like is a huge undertaking, and so I imagine that having the guys from Ninedots on that have got a solid amount of experience now in running an event, that would be, I think, for me to go like, what do I need? Kind of it's all very well like designing a pretty logo and booking speakers, but there's still like a lot of logistics that need to be, or things that maybe you wouldn't think about to kind of really make that experience what it is for everybody when they get there. So is that kind of their role, or are you completely 50-50 or?
Yeah, it's like when they kind of like the we were talking about experience earlier and how valuable that is, and it's the same for this. It's kind of, I was passionate about this event that I wanted to put on, and I was kind of pitching the idea to Andy from Ninedots, saying, in a way, like I was saying, I was thinking, you do this, mate. Will you do this for videographers? And he's like, that's a great idea. Yeah, cool, brilliant. We'll help you. What do you need to get it done? I was like, what? So it was literally here. He's almost forced my hand into it. He goes, no, we'll do it. Like, because they put on multiple events every year. Yeah. They know how to do it. The logistics, what's important, and for me, it was kind of like saying, right, I want these speakers. These are the speakers I want, and I want them to not just be talking about philosophy, I want that, but I also want nuts and bolts of how wedding films put together. I want it to be, the speeches not to drag on for hours, I want it to be short, snappy and to the point with practical takeaways, but more importantly, I want it to be an event where we get together and what almost as valuable as the stuff you learn from the speakers is what you learn from your peers and the people that you connect with. Amazing. And then they've helped me kind of organise like to the using their experience of putting it all together really. And and them just giving me a kick up the arse with things I need to do in terms of promo, because like if you look at my Instagram for Roo Films, I think I've got 33, I've been going like since 2018, I've got 33 posts. So like I am no good at pushing or publicising things. So having them to help me with all that is it's just invaluable, really. And,
We clearly did enough because the ticket sold out pretty quickly. And I like that as well. Every speaker is bringing something different to the table. It's not like you've just brought in 6 speakers who are, like you say, charging 20 grand in Italy. Oh, these are the best of the best. Let's crack on and talk about how you booked another Italian wedding. Like, it's like each of them have something to bring to the table, whether it's branding and marketing or selling digital products, and that is nice to have. You can have a variety of the day as well.
Yeah, that was important for me because I don't know. I think we're all the same. If we're in this industry, we've all kind of got like an ADHD kind of brain, right? That's why we can't work for anybody else. We have to work for ourselves. And I've sat through these kind of conferences and I'm bored out of my brain at some of them. And then speaker after speaker is basically saying the exact same thing. It's kind of like, I don't know, show what you want to shoot, show the work for your ideal clients. And it's the same. And what we do, like, it's the same story. So when I've contacted these speakers, it's like always kind of like saying, I love your work, really want you to speak, but I love this element about what you do as well. And, or in the case of Russell, it was like, because I was thinking maybe he's like the way he works his social media be interesting, but he was going, I'd like to talk about the, but I also saw in a podcast he did, he was speaking about how his website's built on Shopify.
Yeah.
And I was like, it'd be cool to like maybe go into that. But he's like, I was thinking I could talk about how I create and sell digital products because that would be quite interesting. I was like, yes, that is phenomenal. Like, no one spoke about that. And his talk, he literally wants people to be able to have actionable tasks that they can go straight from Coda and put into action straight away. And that's when I've been speaking to speakers, it's getting those elements so they're not going to clash, these talks. They're going to all give you something different from videographers at different kind of weddings and different kind of levels. It's and that's really what the whole day is structured on that. Like, it's not just getting a name, throwing them in there, letting them do the thing. It's a case of, can you teach us this, please? You do this really well, and can you teach us this?
I'm looking forward to hearing Russell's one, to be fair, because I've got I sell like a contract, like a videography contract, but I'm rubbish at marketing it. And after hearing him on another podcast, I can't remember which podcast it was, talk about in depth about how he creates his digital products and how he pushes out emails to people, like offering discounts and things like that. Like his brain, it's just, I could literally pick his brain for hours, because he's like, sounds like a really nice bloke for a start, but also like he's so screwed on. He's got his head screwed on in terms of,
he's incredibly intelligent. It's like he's incredibly intelligent fella, and you don't usually get like that kind of massive insane intelligence added to wedding videography, right? We just, in my case, I'm doing this because I'm not that clever.
Well, I think as well, like you said, is I think variety is key, because if there's nothing worse than sitting through what is a long day of absorbing knowledge, that if it all comes from the same place. Because if you're someone, say, that's not pushing towards a luxury market, and then you get all these speakers that are doing that, you kind of think, well, what am I walking away from? But then for every bit that you've got Russell, then you've got like the Costa sisters, who are arguably like the most alternative, you have couples which I would call like their, like people that are iconic to kind of their vibe and the thing that they do, and it's so separate, isn't it, to Russell's kind of couple? So there literally is something for everybody there.
Yeah, because with the Costa sisters, they clearly have their ideal clients and they the kind of people they want to target. But it's not necessarily that the talk's not going to be about how you can get the same market. It's about how you can find your market and how you're going to target towards them. So it's kind of like, that's going to be super interesting. Like I said, I'm looking forward to all the speakers, but it's because I put this event on because it's the people I want to hear from. Yeah,
definitely.
So it's kind of...
but you represent us in a way, because the people you want to hear from are the people that most of us want to see as well. And I had a look on a site this morning and saw that you've now got like a list of what people will be talking about, and it seemed really spot on for who it was, like Russell's digital products, Cost Sisters, and how to brand target the right people. That all seemed just to make sense in my head of who should be talking about what. And like you say, like everyone has their little thing. We can all go up there and say, oh, you need to have a good Instagram and post multiple times, but like everyone has their thing that they're probably a little bit, like their niche. Their niche that they actually sort of specialize in, and they could probably give a bit more value to people. Yeah,
definitely. And like I say, everyone has something to teach as well. So other than the speakers that are going to be up there as well, chatting to your fellow attendees and that, we're going to learn as much from each other as we are from the people speaking, I think. I can't wait.
Definitely. So last thing I want to talk about is the venue, because that's recently been announced, I think, and that's the cinema. Don't know the exact name. So if you can explain the venue to us.
Yeah, so it's the Everyman Cinema in Birmingham, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful space. And with the video, that was one of my non-negotiables as well. We're putting a conference on. For a wedding videographer conference, it had to be a cinema. We had to, we can't be doing this sort of like a random projector put up in a pub. It had to be a cinema experience, so we can see these wedding films in that extraordinary setting.
That. Yeah, putting someone's film up on like the big screen.
Is that actually what?
With like the surround audio and stuff? That's going to be insane.
Yeah. So
I don't think I'd want my films to be seen like that.
Yeah. So maybe we should run some kind of competition where people can have their films shown, right, as well, like the attendees, and put them on.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. I think I'd be scared though, to be fair. What's my sound mix going to be like on the big screen?
Footage going to look like on the big screen?
Yeah. Don't. Oh my God, yeah, didn't even consider that. But yeah, so it's the Everyman Cinema, which is not only like a wonderful, beautiful cinema room, but the seats might be a little bit too comfortable for some, right? But at least Coda's like going to be sharp and to the point and fast and fast paced.
Sofas, right? Is it like sofas inside the cinema?
Proper like kind of like reclining set, like beautiful like sofas, yeah. And then the social space itself is really nice and nice. Just nice vibes, man. I think it's just going to really encourage that kind of like social aspect of it, which is really, really what I want. Like I keep saying, as much as the speakers and learning, the social aspect is just as important.
So how will it work in terms of timings then? Is it going to be one after the other? Are we going to be going in and out of the rooms, or are they going to be taking place in different rooms?
It all takes place in the one room.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be like Reading Festival where there's a load of bands that you want to see, but then they end up clashing with each other and stuff like that. No, it's all in the same room, after each other, with quite a few breaks scattered in between, just to kind of
for the social element.
Yeah. And if you're like me, if you need a wee every 15 minutes, it's not going to be a problem. But yeah.
Yeah, I imagine having seen like how comfy those sofas look, I imagine there's going to be some sleepers in there.
Yeah, all the parents, isn't it? All the parents that are finally getting in a dark room and no kids, kind of like just like passing out.
No, that's good. And then everyone who's speaking obviously like has access to like the big cinema screen, right? And they can present on there.
Yeah.
That's so good.
So they'll be down at the front. There's a big space at the front where they'll be able to stand, kind of like to give the talk, but then whatever they want to present will be on the cinema screen behind them. Yeah.
That's so cool.
What did you think it was going to be, like a tiny little projector like put up in front of the cinema screen?
Yeah. I don't know what I thought, but I guess expected it to be a cinema, but someone literally just stood at the front talking. It never even occurred to me that the screen in the cinema would actually be used, because I always just imagined that that would be controlled from the back room out the back sort of thing, and you'd have to keep going to the back to control it. But
no, I think I'm assuming it right. Imagine I come wheeling out a 40-inch TV. There we go. But no, we'll be connected to like the big cinema, and that's going to be like the mega experience. And it was we like I said, we had the two venues that we were going to go for, but it was a case of the first venue we would sell out of that a bit too quick. Like we'd sell out of that too quick because I wanted the social space. That was important. But then the Everyman Cinema is just like, it's insane, but we could only make it work with the amount of people that we got. So it worked out beautifully in the end. So yeah, we'll be taking that over for a day.
Yeah, I mean, we're planning on getting like an Airbnb or a hotel there for the night as well, hoping that afterwards there'll be a little bit of socialisation as well. It's like some people going out for a drink or something.
Absolutely.
But it's those things we spoke, isn't it? That it kind of come full circle. Is that you're saying about making films that giving your couples an experience is you've almost, by not only just offering a platform of a conference with insane speakers, is that people have got to drive away from home, stay overnight, make it like it's a real conscious effort, isn't it? You're not just popping to listen to someone speak or watching someone's YouTube video about how they do it. Is that you're really kind of creating that kind of real, like, kind of bespoke element of I'm going away from home to learn. I'm sitting in the dark and watching these films. You're giving these speakers and their films the cinema experience, and hopefully, as I say, really kind of driving that learning element into it rather than it just being like a Zoom call with 100 people on
All I
it.
can think about now is how anxious I'd be if my video has been shown on the screen that big. Like that guy's untucked shirt would be so obvious, and
Wouldn't it? Yeah.
the big screen.
The area, the location of the mailbox as well, where it is, where the Everyman Cinema is fantastic as well. There's so many bars and places to eat right around it. So we're all in the hub of Birmingham. So and Birmingham doesn't get much love for things like this, does it?
No, it doesn't. Exactly. I think it's a good middle ground as well. Like it's a lot. I hear a lot of people down here say we're so left out. Like everything's up north. Like up north, there seems to be a big community. Down here, everything's a bit like there's not much going on.
Or everything's in London.
Yeah,
and everyone has to draw into London.
Yeah.
So to have it, so they say Birmingham's arguably pretty much the middle of the country. So you've
exactly.
made it kind of equal travel for most people. So
And we've got a massive Scottish contingent coming down as well. There's loads of the Scots coming.
Yeah.
So
would that be something you look at in the future? Maybe, like obviously, I know like I attend most of the photography farm events that Lisa puts on, and over the years she's always done kind of an England date and then a Scotland date because of those hardcore followers. So could you kind of do a touring version of it? Maybe, do you think, if that was
possibly? Yeah, possibly. I mean, I'd want to be able to, like, from this first event, I really want to speak to the community and see what works for what people want, what would work for them, to create like the best event going forward. I think we're always going to be looking at October. And then we had a chat this week, and we were talking through other things as well that we possibly want to do, which is all kind of like, I don't know. This all happened. It kind of blew up more than we expected. We're like we'll do this event, but then we think clearly there's a need for it, and we want to be able to get the next year's one up and running quite soon, and seeing what works for people in terms of location. Because funny enough, speaking to people come from Scotland, it's actually easier for them to get to London than it is to Birmingham, because they can just fly straight. There's no flights from where they are going to Birmingham, so it's like a train or whatever, whereas they can easily get to London. But then things like accommodation cost lots more, right?
Yes, a lot more.
So like, and quite selfishly, like I live near Birmingham, so it's in Birmingham.
Also, again, if you put a lineup that you've put on, you offer a cinema experience like you've offered, that people are going to come, aren't they? It's it's like how much effort is that compared to what I'm going to get at the other end, and try and find somewhere like even I imagine to hire an equivalent of Everyman in London, what the ticket cost would have to be. It's
but Everyman is insanely expensive. It just really is. Like even the London one, I think it's the same across the board. So we're not really got any benefit of being in Birmingham from that point of view. So we could move to London maybe.
I'm really looking forward to seeing where we're going. I think you're doing the right thing. It's like capitalising that momentum. Like people obviously want it, so like next year is going to sell out again. So think about next year and how it can grow from there, I guess, isn't it?
Also, I remember saying to Chris when I first saw it being announced as well, is that whoever's done your branding, it's a sexy looking brand as well. Like even without a speaker being announced, just kind of that just the way that it's been presented to me.
That reminds me.
I'd have been a player.
Why is it? Why Coda? Does it stand for something?
Yeah, so Coda is it refers to like to summarise, to round up, bring to a conclusion is what it means. But it's often referred to in a part of like music, like in a film soundtrack. Like the coda of the song is what the part of the element of the song that brings it to a conclusion. So that's the meaning for it. But also it looks sick written down.
It does, That's why the branding works. It's just like, you're going Coda.
But it rolls off the tongue already, doesn't it? It's like the first event's not even happened, and it's like Coda's just become this this like thing of like in this word of its own.
It was like, because my background is in graphic design and branding, so everything I approach, even my business, I approach it from a branding project first.
Yeah.
Kind of like an end from there.
So you're responsible for all of the branding for Coda. You've done all that stuff in house.
Everything, built the website, built the e-commerce.
Take a bow, Roo. Amazing. Thank you. You could have taken my money just from writing Coda on a black background. I'd have been there.
Off black, mate. Off black, not quite black.
Not completely black.
But it's like it just worked, and the way people are speaking about it, and they're saying Coda, and like it seems to have, I don't know, struck a chord. It kind of works from a brand point of view.
It's a memorable word.
Happy about that.
People are going to be using it, like going Coda this year, like that, and that's a good thing to have, isn't it?
Then the amount of people that are asking me what it means as well, like.
Well, because my wife came up to me and was like, that means child of deaf adult. apparently.
Yeah, or carer of deaf adult.
Or
I think there's a
carer- oh, is
Coda
it? Okay,
conference
yeah.
for that
Or
kind of
carer
thing.
of deaf
Yeah.
adult,
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you've definitely
no, it's not because of that.
you've definitely made it into a term that people I think are going to remember and say. So, so I think we should wrap up. This has been our longest episode, so we have been going for quite a bit. But I feel like we've.
I'm so
really,
sorry.
No, don't apologise. It's been all good stuff.
We've
so,
absolutely loved it. Like, we've covered so much, and it's been so good to talk with you. But is there anything before we leave it there that you want to say about Coda that we haven't said?
I think we've covered most of the things. It's just I don't need to sell it now, right?
This is usually be your
can't sell any
opportunity
more
to sell tickets, but you've sold all the damn things already. So.
Sell for 2025. Let's go.
But what I will say is, though, I really want to hear from the people that are coming Coda to what they want to see from us going forward. How do you want Coda? It's hard for them to say, right, in terms of how they want Coda to look because they haven't been to it yet. So obviously we'll be getting feedback after the event itself as well. But more looking forward to who the people you want to see speak going forward. That's what I want to hear from.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think the feedback is definitely an important thing, isn't it? When you're thinking about the next one, is like, who do you want there? Is the location good? That kind of thing. But I'm really, really excited for it. Like, I think you've done a cracking job in getting it all organised, and I think no matter what happens now, if all those videographers turn up and just have a chat and a meet up, like at the very minimum, that's like is a positive thing.
And also, I'm a photographer who's never shot video and doesn't have a particular want to enter that market soon, but I've got the FOMO big time. People talking about it, I was like, I want to come. And I feel absolutely gutted now that I didn't get myself a ticket. And I think there'd be something to learn there for me, for sure. And
also the price.
when it comes
very
back
good.
out, it's, I'll come next year.
Well, we all sold out at the early bird price, right? Get to the standard
You weren't
price.
expecting that. I think the price was like, as soon as it came out, because we were sort of like, a few of my friends were going like, oh, should we go? Should we, like, it's like, depends on the price and like what's been offered. When as soon as the price came out, we were like, couldn't believe our eyes. Like, it's actually, I think it's really, really fair and really, really good price.
And that's important to me. Like, I want everything about Coda to be accessible. Like, I don't want it to be like, I don't want to be like tickets to be spending an absolute fortune. It needs to be sustainable. It needs to work as an event, but also I want to get as many people from different points of their business there and learning, and to make the price at an accessible point is quite important, really.
Amazing. I think you've definitely done that, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah,
Amazing.
really excited for it. And it's been lovely to have you on today, and obviously good to finally like meet you and have a chat with you. You're another person that I've been like following, and I've seen your work. I've been watching you on YouTube and your BTS and stuff like that. I just had it on in the background while editing, and it's like, yeah, it's good good to finally get to like chat to you properly.
Yeah, awesome, man. Like, it's been great chatting to you guys. Like, a bit too easy talking to you. I've been rattling on for hours. I'm so sorry.
Again, we're all victims of that. I think when we started this pod, we were like, episodes no longer than an hour, and we've slowly, as we've been doing this, they've got slowly longer and longer and longer. But I think again, there's loads for people to take away from in this. So even if they end up listening to it over a series of sessions, I think it's all good stuff. And say thank you for giving us your time to to be so free with your knowledge as well.
Oh, thank you so much for getting me on, boys. I really appreciate it. I massively appreciate it. And thank you for your support with Coda and everything. But really appreciate it.
No,
amazing. Thank you very much.
Really good. Well, thank you, Roo. So I think everyone else is, if they haven't had their week break already, have more than earned it. So we'll let you go and get some lunch. We're going to go and get our meal deal. And
thanks.
We'll see everybody else.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Do your review thing on
follow
Spotify.
Roo. That's the one thing. Wait. Tell us, Roo. Not only just Coda. Where can people find you if they don't follow you already?
Okay, so on Instagram it's Roo_Films, and and my website is roo-films.com.
Amazing.
And I'm on YouTube as well. You can see some videos of me working behind the scenes at weddings there.
What about Coda? Where can we find Coda?
Coda is Coda. Coda-conference.com is the one to go to.
Amazing. Thank you.
That's it.
Right, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening, and leave your reviews. Come back next time. Tell your friends. Thanks for watching.
See you at Coda, I guess.
See you at Coda.
Yeah.
See you at Coda, guys. Right, amazing.